Hello, I'm Sean O'Brien, and I'm going to read some poems from my new collection, It Says Here, which is published today, the 3rd of September, by Picador. And I'm going to begin with the title poem, It Says Here. I think this is about the way the imagery and narrative force of early childhood reading comes to sustain us imaginatively, even as life grows more complex and the themes we have to engage with in life are graver. At least I think that's what it's about. It says here that the way through the woods runs out in a blizzard, that the ocean does not, is eternal, and still for a while you may cross the great ice dome by dog sled, though at your own risk, that the book you are reading is one of a kind, that its door opens inwards and cannot be closed, that the train going over a bridge at night has somewhere to get to that even the driver, heroic and faceless and bathed in the heat from the firebox, never discovers, that the sky is a page where, with a flourish, the birds write the truth in invisible ink, and the eye is too slow to be certain that this word and that word are never to meet, or the poem will sicken and die. That when you glance up from your reading, the rivers divide and divide, till at last you step down at a halt in the woods with its name painted over, and there in the evening the bride and the gamekeeper wait with their faces averted, wait for the signal to shift and the lamp to glow red and a train to arrive, but not yet, and not yet. That, though this is August, the snow is beginning. You blink, and the woods are half buried, and the traveller's gone. And as for the fire and the rose, that it now seems you set out in search of, that is a different story, or so it says here. An assignation. This is a brief poem about an impossible love affair, I guess, which has reached its own kind of perfection as a non-event. An assignation. I will see you in the white square once again between the plane trees by the church of St. Eulalie. It will be the middle of the afternoon when everyone has disappeared, but you and I approaching secretly by different streets. My life is nothing but this rendezvous, my love. No past, no afterwards, only the breeze that fidgets like a horse kept waiting in that distant corner of the square, where I can see you now, already seated and expecting no one. Your dress is blue, your book lies open by the empty glass you raise as if in toast to no one, while I pass and raise in turn my non-existent hat in token of this infinite commitment. Farewell then, farewell, à demain. On a lighter note, relatively speaking, is a poem called Little Pig Finnegan. When I was in infant school, my favourite book in the class library, in Miss Garvin's class in 1957, I think, was a book called Little Pig Finnegan. I'm ashamed to say I can't now remember the name of the author, but the story stayed with me, and I decided it deserved revisiting, though in a more Tarantino-esque sense than the original author had brought to it. And this is Little Pig Finnegan, the alternative version, in which I attempt some terrible versions of Irish accents, so will everybody please forgive me about that. It's for authenticity, you might say. Little Pig Finnegan. The farmer was talking, and Little Pig Finnegan heard what the farmer had said, That one's tail is too straight and there's no time to wait, so he's going for bacon instead, tra-la, he's going for bacon instead. When your pig saw his ass in a large looking glass, the farmer had not been mistaken. Young Finnegan balked at the thought he'd be smoked, and he felt all alone and forsaken. I'm going for bacon instead, tra-la, I'm going for bacon instead. But his big sister Bridget, that's Biddy for short, said, You'll be for breakfast if ever you're caught, so I'm putting these mints in this bundle I've brought. Now run away, Finnegan, run away, on your little pig legs, or you'll be the bacon that goes with the eggs, the bacon that goes with the eggs, tra-la, the bacon that goes with the eggs. So Finnegan fled, with a price on his head, or in fact on his little straight tail, away, far away, till the breaking of day, when he came to a farm, a wee place of great charm, where the farmer's wife beckoned him in, tra-la, where the farmer's wife beckoned him in. She fed him and bathed him and fed him again, till the sleep rose up over his head. She put on a white coat, and she cut his wee throat, till he thought, Holy fuck, now I'm dead, tra-la, till he thought, Holy fuck, now I'm dead. Then she minced him for sausage instead, tra-la, she minced him for sausage instead. This book is really two books in one. There is a collection of individual poems, and there is also the book-length poem called Hammersmith, which is in 10 cantos. And it's, to put it very briefly, a kind of dream vision of England in the dreamlike, distorted light of post-war Hammersmith, West London, the river, the Thames, my parents' history, war, race, class, dance halls, bars, and so on. And it doesn't really bear explanation. It really invites a sort of, it invites a reader to submerge in it for a bit and possibly come up again, with luck. I'm just going to read the last canto, which is the shortest, and which, unlike most of the poem, takes place in a version of the present. Canto 10 of Hammersmith. At the end of the garden runs a river I will never reach. They walk there in the silence of the intimate, and with the day so vast and patient, they have nothing on the clock. I come indoors and light the fire, and look up at the flickering leer on the face of Silenus carved over the mantel. The old are sent here from the future to ensure that we despair, better never to have been, but failing that, stick to aesthetics which in turn will stick to you like napalm. Thus Ryan. Deep beneath the hearth a beam is smouldering, ignited by a memory that leaves the city mined with unexploded ordnance, sunk among the bones in flooded graves. Rereading Captain January and Braddock by the fire, I am part still of the done war. The old weight-bearing beam consumes itself austerely by the splinter in a steady tended rage, whose day will come and look like vindication, when the stack of stories falls into itself and through itself, and down again and down through the final dark river to nowhere. For underneath this fury that will seek its own extinction in the wreck of all that stands and call it victory, there is no bedrock to be found. Imaginary England rises for a moment like a gas flare from a sewer and is gone. Now leave me, with the house divided, to await its immolation, to bear witness here, complicit by the fact of being born and drinking from the poisoned well. Let books and earth and oily water burn, likewise the living and the dead, but let me remember the possible days, the river where the garden ends, and those I lost are walking still. The fourth of the 5 poems I'm reading It's called I Found My Way, and it's a garden poem which in some way harks back to the Baroque and the pastoral of the 17th century. It's not directly referred to in the text, but it's actually impossible to visit the site in Yorkshire where Andrew Marvell probably wrote The Garden, and being locked out and excluded or locked in and imprisoned is part of the understory of the poem. Again, I think the reader must decide for themselves. I found my way. I found my way, the worse for drink, through petal storms, the white, the pink. The place was all significance, the goddess in the jasmine shade, sequestered in her green romance, arch on arch in deep recession. Inaudibly the fountains played. The seasons fled, as England slept, and I could not, a trespasser on ground I'd owned. What business underwrote my being there? Yet an appointment must be kept. The roses, hooded for the frost, like hangmen, saw that I was lost. And yet this place was all I knew, while how I came there, and for what, had never troubled me till now. But now I walked that blessed plot, green avenue by avenue, past royal rose and bergamot, in residence, yet passing through. So what conclusion should I draw from this arboreal baroque, when every way led only here, whose silence waited like a clock? And how should I inquire within to learn the nature of the sin for which I was arraigned? And then I saw, this is the centre of the rose, an empty sepulchre designed to quench the tongue and close the mind, the perfect, heartless, silent O. She never cares to speak in prose, where there is neither stay nor go, nor any means of saying so. And finally, a slightly longer poem, but don't be afraid, it's not that long. The Long Field, which is about the play of memory, the attempt to encompass the experience of time while sitting staring out of the window on a rainy day at a field near where we live. The Long Field. Late summer still just barely. People are away, the long fields moan, the aspens wait for the wind to bring rain, and when it comes, rain has itself for company this afternoon, the roar, the hush, the sudden afterwards, when everything looks round as though awoken from exhausted wakefulness. We are old now, you tell me. The lives we have led lead here, to this hour after the rain. We have tried to be those on whom nothing is wasted, while knowing that all this is merely the case, as the pronouns are, or those dim figures swimming up with neither names nor dates, the decorative impulse gone to seed, delivering their gifts of obligation to recall the place, the year, inconsequent and labyrinthine. The sound of the metro hangs in the wind, late afternoon, with its sensible emptiness. Fresh clouds come gliding in from westwards on columns of crosshatch on crosshatch. When the rain begins again, the horses move in slowly underneath the trees, as if not quite invited, left out by travellers to wait with a tin bath of leaves and black water. Is it a sacred mystery, this mere contingency? It places you beside me, reading at the window, breaking off to comment, deaf to the clock. Why not? If I could, I would live here forever, feeding my redundant papers to the flames. But there's the far-off clatter of the metro, veering suddenly much closer like a carriage on the ghost train hurtling into view, while we are watching 50 years ago with brandy snap and inarticulate desires, then plunging back behind the double doors into the night where girls are screaming. Somewhere in there is a hairpin bend where a skeleton station master waits, his fob watch nesting in his finger bones. Where was I? Siding with the elements that take no sides. Let's close the window now. But oh, forget me not, forget me not. Let's watch the rain emulsify and slide across the glass that holds our faces, carefully committing them to memory. Thank you for listening. And this book, of which you can have a nice backwards view, is published today by Picador. It's called It Says Here, and it costs £10.99. Assuming you can get anywhere near a bookshop or make use of some electronic means of purchase. Anyway, thanks for listening. Bye.